Hello, guys, and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga, new season 23-24, and we have a new face with us, Ronan Murphy. Hello, welcome to Oddspedia. How are you?
Hello, I'm very good. How are you?
All good. Ready to know your input about this Bundesliga. Are we going to see another title for Bayern Munich, the 12th in a row?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. If you can remortgage your house, I think putting it on Bayern to win the Bundesliga every year is the way to go, because it just seems to happen one year after the other.
Yeah, short answer. The odds for Bayern Munich to win the title, by the way, is only 1.30. So we are not going to make a lot of money on that, but perhaps you will tell us in the video how to make money in this first match day in the Bundesliga. So let's jump into the games. Remember, guys, as always, don't forget to press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And by the way, remember that we've partnered with 1xBet, so you can get 30% extra in your welcome bonus, up to 130%. Use our promo code Oddspedia YouTube with the link in the description box, and you can get up to 520 euros, Ronan. So good news. To start this Bundesliga, the unveiling is going to be on Friday. We have the first game on Friday. We have Werder Bremen, Bayern Munich, and there is a lot of things to discuss about Bayern Munich because they lost the Super Cup against Leipzig 3-0. Bad numbers for Tuchel, actually. After taking care of Bayern Munich last season, we know that 𝐿𝐭𝐴 has arrived. And my question to you, if you see this Bayern Munich stronger than last season?
I don't know if they are necessarily stronger than last season. Obviously, they've signed Harry Kane, and that makes a big difference for up front. But I think there's still problems there to be answered by Tuchel. He had a lot of problems towards the end of the season. He only kind of won it with the last gasp of the Bundesliga season. It was a really dramatic final day, and Borussia Dortmund kind of played themselves out of a title more than Bayern Munich played themselves into a title under Tuchel. So there's still a lot of problems with Bayern Munich, but Bayern Munich's problems aren't the same as, say, Freiburg problems or Stuttgart's problems or other teams around the league. Their problems are which elite players are we going to play some weeks, or can we replace these very good players with elite players? So there are problems and question marks over Bayern Munich, but the question marks aren't really, are they going to win the Bundesliga? Because they will, especially with Harry Kane.
Well, one of the problems, for instance, is in the goalie with Ulreich, but let's jump into the game on Friday. How do you see this Werder Bremen Bayern Munich? Werder Bremen, by the way, they kept Füllkrug. Remember that he was the top scorer of last season with 16 goals together with Christopher Nkunku.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one with lots of goals, perhaps, especially with Harry Kane coming to Bayern Munich. We saw what he could do in the Premier League. He scored 0.8 goals per 90 minutes. So he might even be able to improve that to maybe a goal a game in the Bundesliga, especially with the service that Bayern Munich can provide him. So I expect a lot of goals in this game. I expect Bayern Munich to start Kane. They don't really have anyone else. Matthias Tell wasn't that impressive in the Super Cup, unfortunately. Choupo-Moting, he's not going to be a long-term answer for them, and he's carrying a knock anyway, so he's a doubt. So I expect Kane to start. I expect Bayern Munich to score lots of goals. But like you said, Sven Ulreich is Bayern Munich's goalkeeper, so Werder Bremen have a chance of goals at their own. So there could be goals at both ends. It could be a wide open game, plenty of action, and so that's why I'm expecting a lot of goals in this one.
Okay, so what would be your tip then for this game?
Yeah, so my tip is, especially as Bayern Munich kind of rotate through their subs, is that there will be both teams to score in the second half. I think the game will open up. Bayern Munich will probably take a lead in the first half, but Werder Bremen will battle hard throughout the game. They have Füllkrug, like you said, so there's always a chance they'll score. Ulrich can be a bit of a liability at times. He's no Manuel Neuer, so I think both teams will score in the second half. So that's where I'm putting my money for this match.
All right, both teams to score in the second half is 2.75. Both teams to score in the game pays only 1.63. Very little, by the way. Werder Bremen, they were the worst home team last season with only 17 points, only 5 victories, the worst home team last season. Well, on Saturday, let's jump into the games we have on Saturday. Augsburg Gladbach is the first one. The Gladbach, they were really poor last season. They finished in the middle of the table with 13 defeats. They appointed 𝐜𝐭𝐴𝐽𝐻, former Leverkusen manager, on the bench, and Augsburg, they finished only 1 point away from the play-out spots. How do you see this one? Because the odds to back Gladbach are actually very tempting.
Yeah, they are, but you kind of have to have question marks over Gladbach. Like you said, they were disappointing last season. They haven't done huge business in the transfer market. They've obviously, Marcus Thuram is gone, so they had to replace him. Thomas 𝐿 has come in. He scored a couple of goals in the cup, but it was an easy game in the cup. They were playing against an amateur side, so they won 7-0. It's nothing really to take too much evidence from. But I think Augsburg as well, they had a disappointing game in the cup. They lost 2-0 to Unterhaching, so they look terrible. So I'm not expecting a lot of goals in this game. Unfortunately, it's not going to be one to tune in if you're looking for a Bundesliga match to tune in at the afternoon kickoff. I think there's better entertainment out there. So for this one, I'm probably looking at few goals. So I'm going to take the under 2.5 goals in this one.
Okay, under 2.5 goals, pays 2.38. If I have to watch one game at 3:30 p.m. local time, I would choose the next one, Leverkusen, Leipzig, because I think these two teams, we expect a lot from them, because Leipzig finished last season way better than they started, because they won the Super Cup 3-0 with Dani Olmo scoring a hat-trick. And even if they lost a lot of key players, Vardiol, Szoboszlai, and 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐽, I guess they should do better than last season. And Leverkusen also, let's see how they work with Xabi Alonso on the bench after a long summer to prepare the new team.
Yeah, I think Dani Olmo, like you said, he's done well. He was very impressive in the Super Cup. So he kind of has stepped into the role left behind maybe by 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐽. He's maybe going to be more trusted this season because 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐽 is gone. So they need someone to step up and make that difference. And as we've seen since Timo Werner came back, he hasn't been the Timo Werner that we've seen in the past. So they need someone else to provide the goals for them. It could be Dani Olmo this season. He's shown he's trusted to take the penalties, but he also showed in the Super Cup that he can score magnificent goals. He can beat Bayern by himself, essentially. So he is looking really good. Like you said about Leverkusen, Xabi Alonso, he's had the full summer to prepare this team. So it could be a different looking team than last season. But he has lost Moussa Diaby to Aston Villa. He's already played well for Aston Villa and scored for Aston Villa in the Premier League. So he's a big loss for them. And Xabi Alonso, a lot of praise was given from last season for taking Leverkusen from 16th to 6th. But if you look at Leverkusen, they should be 6th anyway. It's not like he came in and did something that no other manager in the world could ever do. I know Liverpool fans are hoping maybe he can be brilliant and be the next 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐽 Klopp when 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐽 Klopp finally steps away at Liverpool. But we need to see more, I think, on a longer basis from Xabi Alonso to know what kind of manager he is. So there's still question marks around that. So I'm looking at RB Leipzig to win this game. I think the odds are very favourable for them. Even though they're away side, they were the away side last weekend in the Super Cup and put 3 goals past Bayern Munich, and they didn't even look under pressure. So I'd be very confident of RB Leipzig winning this one at odds of 2.77.
Actually, Leverkusen, they are the favorites for this game, surprisingly, and not only Liverpool fans are waiting for Xabi Alonso, also Real Madrid fans are waiting for Xabi Alonso to succeed at Leverkusen. And you said that the Leverkusen should finish the 6th by the squad. If we check the odds for the outright market in this Bundesliga, the 3rd is Leipzig, the 4th is Leverkusen. Do you see Dortmund more title contender than Leipzig? Do you see Leverkusen like the fourth better squad in this Bundesliga?
Yeah, I think the odds reflect the way the Bundesliga will probably end up. And like most people would predict, Bayern Munich winning, Dortmund second, and then Leipzig and Leverkusen kind of taking the third and fourth spots. But at the moment, Leipzig look to have a better squad. Maybe Leverkusen, before the window closes, will bring in more players. But Florian Wirtz is back, and that's going to be a huge one for them, especially if they can keep him fit. So if he does stay fit, he'll be a huge player for them, and they should finish in the top four. So yeah, fourth seems a kind of realistic goal for them, and the market is correct there, I think.
Well, let's see, because last season we had a lot of surprises. For instance, let's talk about Freiburg. Hoffenheim-Freiburg is the next game. Freiburg was one of the biggest surprises of last season. They were in the top four spots until the end, but finally they couldn't qualify for the Champions League. They will play Europa League again. They lost a couple of players going to Brentford, and their first game is against Hoffenheim, who finished 12th last season, far from the European spots. We have Matarazzo again as a manager in Hoffenheim, and I'm surprised to see these odds. Hoffenheim, they are so favorite for this one. The bookies don't trust this Freiburg.
Yeah, the bookies mustn't trust Mark Flecken's disappearance to Brentford. They mustn't trust the new Freiburg goalkeeper. They brought in Florian Muller, and it looked like maybe he would be the number one, but they've turned to a young guy, the Germany under-21 goalkeeper, 𝐜𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐴, and he's not really proven yet, so we're not really sure what to expect from him. So it's not really a surprise that Hoffenheim are favourites in this game. Freiburg have been a very good team over the last few seasons under Christian Streich. Like you said, they challenged for the top four last season. They are a well-disciplined team, a well-coached team, but maybe they've gone as far as they can go and kind of reached the mountain the top of the mountain for Freiburg, and maybe from here it's kind of downwards, because playing in Europe every season you need a big squad, and they don't really have a big squad, so it will be draining if they play a lot of games in Europe, depending on how Christian Streich looks at Europe this season. So for me, Hoffenheim, they kind of underperformed last season, but they still have good forwards. Kramaric is still there. He scored twice in the cup, so he's a big help for him. We saw how good he can play for Croatia. He's played on the highest level. He can score goals for them, and that's why I'm looking at Hoffenheim to score first in this game. I think it's good odds, because Hoffenheim to win, as like you said, they're heavy favourites, so it's probably not worth backing that one. You're not going to make a lot of money there.
Indeed. Well, Hoffenheim to score first, and the next game is a relegation battle, let's say, even if this is the first match day, because last season both struggled a lot. Stuttgart, they got saved playing the play-out at the end of the season, and Bochum, they had a great end of the season, but they were struggling, especially in the first part. Away, they were very poor. Last season, they were the second worst team, only 9 points away with 2 victories. Only Hertha was worst. Probably that's why Stuttgart are so favorites. Anyway, I'm far from putting my money on Stuttgart with only 1.7 to win.
Yeah, I wouldn't be that confident in Stuttgart, especially with their captain leaving for Liverpool, Wataru Endo. Obviously a great player. He was crucial in keeping Stuttgart in the Bundesliga last season. He was one of the Liverpool fans to be impressed to know that he's a busy player, big engine. He gives his all for his team, and he'd probably be a fan favourite there. Although I'm not sure maybe he's the right level for a Liverpool midfielder, but for Stuttgart, he has been one of their best players, and he'll be a big loss. As well as that, Mavropanos is also leaving the club. So they have a lot of players leaving at the moment. So they are a team in transition. I like some of the players they've signed. I suppose they're going to have a busy window by the time it comes. But with a busy window comes transition, getting used to new players, getting used to new teammates, getting used to what the coach wants you to do. So it doesn't really lend itself well to a great start to the season. And against a team who also struggled last season, it could be a kind of a dirty, dogged game. It could be a difficult one. It's probably going to be low scoring. There's not going to be Stuttgart aren't going to match their favourite tags and run out big winners. I'm maybe looking at this one as a draw, which the odds are quite favourable for a draw, and if it ends up in a draw, you could make good money here on Stuttgart to draw Bochum.
Okay, draw, our former Bundesliga tipster, by the way, Radek Vegas, of course. Thank you to Radek. He was very keen on draw. So for you, this is a good option for a draw because Stuttgart odds are very low. Stuttgart and Bochum, probably they will be in the bottom part of the standings, fighting to avoid relegation, I guess. We are going to see Heidenheim in this position, newly promoted team. You will tell me what to expect from them, but the first game is going to be tough. Against Wolfsburg, away, Wolfsburg was one of the underachievers. I think last season they finished 8th. They have 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐽𝐻 as a manager, and I guess, Ronan, we should expect more from this Wolfsburg than the really poor last season.
Yeah, we should, and we shouldn't expect much from Heidenheim at all, unfortunately. It's great to see them back in the Bundesliga. It's one of these kind of charming stories of a smaller team getting into the Bundesliga, but will they last more than one season in the Bundesliga? Probably not. And I think the odds reflect that they're one of the favourites to go down, and no surprise. Wolfsburg, they did underachieve last season, and they've underachieved kind of in the previous few years. But I think they have a squad that's good enough to do damage and cause problems for the bigger teams in the league. Thiago Thomas looks a very good signing. He has Bundesliga experience. He scored in the cup already. He'll probably start from the start this weekend because 𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻, their other forward, he's injured, so Thomas is likely to start. He could be want to score, want to look at maybe to get his name on the score sheet first, perhaps, because Heidenheim, I imagine they're going to ship a lot of goals. They're one of their most important players, Tim Kleindienst. He's gone from the team, so it's kind of a wonder where goals for them will come from this season. He wasn't a huge scorer last season, but he did provide crucial goals at the right time towards the end of the season. I think it was 4 in the last 6, so he'll be a big loss for them. You wonder where Heidenheim are going to get any goals this season. Will they find it difficult week in, week out? So for this one, I'm looking at Wolfsburg -1. I think they can score and win big in this one. So -1, you could even go bigger if you wanted, if you felt like really gambling. But I might play it a bit safer and go Wolfsburg -1.
It's not bad, the odds actually for Wolfsburg -1, 2.65, even if they win by 1 goal margin. You get your money back. Two newly promoted teams in this Bundesliga, Heidenheim and Darmstadt, and we had so many historical clubs in the Bundesliga too: Hamburg, Karlsruhe, St. Pauli, Fortuna Düsseldorf, Schalke, and we have this Hertha, Kaiserslautern, and we have these new 2 teams in the Bundesliga with less name or less known, let's say, for the Bundesliga fans. And the last game we have on Saturday is Dortmund, Cologne. Well, Dortmund, they lost their chance to win the Bundesliga last season. I guess they are still having nightmares with that game, and they also lost Bellingham. Let's see how this affect the team. Do they have their first game is against Cologne? The Cologne last season, they finished in the middle of the table, far from Europe, far from the relegation. Do you think this Dortmund team is better, or they lost a lot with the departure of Bellingham or Guerreiro, for instance?
Yeah, I think Bellingham is a huge absence. Obviously, Guerreiro is a big player, but I think Rami Bensebaini coming in from Gladbach, it's kind of, he will replace him. They'll be fine there. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference, but I think Bellingham, as we know, he's one of the best young players in the world. Real Madrid wouldn't spend over 100 million on a player unless he was one of the best players in the world, and he is. And he showed it week in, week out for Borussia Dortmund. He was one of these complete midfielders that could do everything. He could defend, he could tackle, he could pass, he could even score a goal and assist goals. Replacing him is going to be difficult. Sabitzer has come in. He's an interesting signing. They've spent money to get him from Bayern Munich. I know people that joke about the Bundesliga say Bayern Munich buy all the best players from elsewhere, but maybe Borussia Dortmund might have done one of the opposites this time, because Sabitzer has shown at Leipzig that he's a really good player in the Bundesliga. He didn't get really the chance to shine at Bayern Munich, but he can at Borussia Dortmund, and I think he'll be good alongside Emre Can in midfield for them. He already scored in the cup, so that's kind of a good start to his career at Borussia Dortmund. he can score this weekend too. I wouldn't be surprised. He pops up in the right places. He's a very busy player. He doesn't have the defensive qualities that Jude Bellingham has, but Emre Can hopefully will be able to provide those. So that will give Borussia Dortmund a bit of balance there. I like Cologne. I think they're a decent team, but like you said, they're far away from the European places, but they're also far away from the relegation places. They are a mid-table looking team. They've got a few injuries this weekend, so I'm not that confident that they can do too much here. So I think Borussia Dortmund can score early, keep the lead, go into half time in front, and then finish it off in the second half, or just hold on if they need to. So I'm looking at Borussia Dortmund to lead at full time, half time, and full time. So home for half time and full time, and that's 2.1 or 2.10.
All right, Cologne, they are a mid-table team, same as Mainz, I would say. Last season they finished 9th. They had a bad end of the season, even if they drew in that famous game against Dortmund. And the first game we have on Sunday is Union Berlin against Mainz. This is a very special season for Union Berlin, playing in the Champions League. I don't know if they have the right squad or they strengthen a lot the squad going forward and looking into the European competitions. For instance, they had Gosens, a name that we all know, but is this squad good enough to compete in the Champions League?
No, the simple answer is no. It's not. It's not really good enough to compete in Champions League. They've spent money this summer, which is not very common for Union Berlin. With like you said, Gosens is the biggest signing. 13 million is all they spent on him. So they're not going to go out and spend mega money like some of the other teams that are in the Champions League. They're not going to break the Bundesliga transfer record. It's even surprising when they smashed their own transfer record. But Gosens, he should be a good signing. I like them bringing him. Lucas Toussaint should be good as well. But the one I'm most intrigued about is Davidatro Fofana coming in on loan from Chelsea. He is highly regarded at Chelsea, and this is his first chance to kind of really show what he can do since he moved to Chelsea, and he gets to play in the Champions League, which is a big thing for him. They'll see what kind of level they have in him, whether he can be good enough to succeed in the long term. But it's a great addition for Union Berlin, because they don't have the money to compete for a player like that if they were to buy him outright. So getting him in on loan, getting whatever he can bring to the team this season is going to be big for them. And they need a big squad. Like I said before with Freiburg, these teams that are playing in Europe, they need big squads. But when you're playing in Champions League, you need kind of quality players. And Fofana looks like one, and Gosens looks like one. So the team definitely has strengthened since last season. Top 4 was a massive achievement for them, and you'd be surprised if they're able to do it again. They should be looking to get back into Europe to finish in the top 7, see how that goes.
Okay, for this game, then you go for?
Yeah, I don't really fancy Mainz at all. They needed a penalty to beat Augsburg in the cup last weekend, and they're one of our teams from our documentary. If you haven't watched it yet, check out the SB Alvarez documentary. It's definitely worth tuning into. Mainz only beat them 1-0 in the cup last weekend. So Mainz look poor. They tend to look poor in general. So I'm going for Union Berlin to win this one. With this one comfortably, probably.
Well, the odds are good actually for Union Berlin, around 2. So even if you think they are going to win comfortably, you can go Asian handicap or even win some more money. And the last game of this weekend on Sunday, we have Frankfurt, Darmstadt. Frankfurt with a new manager, Dino Topmüller. Last season they finished 7th, but I would say they were a bit disappointing in the Bundesliga. They were better in the knockout games. It happened also the same 2 seasons ago. By the way, Darmstadt, a newly promoted team. Last season, they were the best defense in Bundesliga 2, only 33 goals conceded. What to expect from Darmstadt, and if you think this Frankfurt can do better than the last seasons and perhaps finish in top 4, top 5, at least challenge for the Champions League spots?
To answer the first question, I don't expect a lot from Darmstadt. They haven't really strengthened too much. They've lost their best player, Philip Tietz. He's gone to Augsburg. A Scottish player is kind of what the Hornsby is the kind of marquee signing they've made so far, and I'd be surprised if a lot of viewers even have heard them. So maybe we'll hear them a bit more in the Bundesliga this season. But Darmstadt are going to be under pressure from the start. It's going to be tricky, and a away trip to Frankfurt to open your season isn't the best way to start a season. Frankfurt, a lot of questions are still there about 𝐜𝐿_𝐭'𝐬, whether he'll stay or go, but at the moment it looks like he's too expensive. PSG are keeping Mbappe. Maybe Real Madrid won't want to bid for him. He's probably too expensive for some teams in the Premier League too. So he looks to be staying around Frankfurt for the moment, which is good news for them. And he started and scored in the Cup last weekend, so he can be a big player again for them. We saw what he could do for France in the World Cup. He was fantastic off the bench for France in the World Cup. He's been fantastic for Frankfurt. If they could keep him for this season, if the transfer window shuts and he's still there, I'd expect him to be knocking on the doors of the Champions League, because he is a difference maker. There's very few players that can kind of create goals and score goals the way he can. And against Bundesliga defenses, he should have a great chance, even against a team, like you said, that had a great defensive record last season, like Darmstadt. But it was against lower quality of forwards. They won't be used to playing against someone like 𝐿_𝐭'𝐬, someone who's played in the World Cup final, someone who perhaps could have won the World Cup final. So for this one, I'm looking at I'm looking at Frankfurt to take the lead in the first half and win the game. So I'm looking at home halftime and home full time for this one too.
One of the problems for Frankfurt last season was conceding goals. They conceded too many goals, 52. Let's see if they are able to control this, keep 𝐿_𝐭'𝐬, and be closer to the Champions League spots. Last season, they finished 12 points behind Union Berlin, so they have to improve in this part of the game. Well, we've analyzed all the games. Before we finish the video and listen to your safe bet and to your ACCA, let's remember that we have an exclusive offer with 1xBet for up to 130%. So use the promo code here, Oddspedia YouTube, and the link is in the description. And perhaps you can use this great welcome bonus to bet on your safe bet, which is?
Obviously, it's Bayern Munich to win. It should be every week. Bayern Munich to win is my safe bet at 1.31. It's like putting money in your one pocket and making twice as much in the other pocket.
Yeah, last season was not like this, let's say, as crystal clear as it should be, because they weren't able to win 13 games, but this is very unusual and unlikely to be repeated in this season. But your first safe bet is Bayern Munich to win, and your first ACCA?
Yeah, I'm looking at Bayern Munich to win, 1.31. Looking at Bayern and Bremen both to score, that's 1.63. Wolfsburg to win at 1.67, Dortmund to win at 1.44, and Frankfurt to win at 1.44. And you told me earlier what that rounded up to, but I've forgotten.
639. Is the
639. We're looking at 639 for Bayern Munich to win, Bremen and Bayern both to score, Wolfsburg to win, Dortmund to win, and Frankfurt to win.
5-fold ACCA for the total of 639, with a lot of favorites to win. Tell me, as always, in the comment section, what do you think about this ACCA? Which team are you backing? And thanks a lot, Ronan. I hope you enjoyed your first video with us. Thanks everyone for watching. Just don't forget to press the like and subscribe. See you next week. Bye-bye.